Hey guys, Jacob Scott, Lowrance product expert. Today, we're out here on the water, and we got a little treat for you. Tucked away in the back here, I've got a hook reveal unit. And the best part about it is it has these new amazing maps on it. So I'm gonna break it out here in a minute. We're gonna run down the lake, we're gonna show you some of the features, and we're gonna show you how amazing this map is. Okay guys, we're looking at the new map that we have in these units. It's an enhanced map. It's got a lot of detail. As you can see, we're out here on Lake Skytooth. Look at these contours we've got. They're pretty amazing contours on it. You can see things like the creek bed, some of the old ponds and some of the old lake beds that you see around here. Right now we're driving in north up mode. So if you were out here and you wanted to change it, the easiest way to do that is you're gonna press your menu button twice. You're going to go down to more options. As you can see, it's already highlighted. You're going to press your enter button again. And when you go to orientation, if you hit enter there, now it's gave me course up. That's exactly what I wanted. So since I'm doing course up, I'm going to go ahead and exit back to my screen. Now what you can see is the map spins, so the direction I'm heading is showing in front of me. That way I can look up and see, oh yeah, there's some land coming up on me, or there's an island, or I'm headed towards a pond or a lake bed in here, you know, some spot that I want to fish. So I can see that I'm heading towards that, and it's going to be pointed right in front of me. One thing to note about this new enhanced map that we have in the hook reveal units is these details. The greater details you're seeing, the road beds, the creek beds, all that sort of stuff. We have this on over 8,000 lakes in this unit. So there's a lot of areas that are going to now have some really good coverage that we didn't have previously. Okay guys, so there's a quick look at the hook reveal and these new amazing maps that we have in it. Hey guys, Jacob Scott, Lowrance product expert, and today I'm going to talk to you about custom shading on your Lowrance HDS and TI units. Now the great thing about this is the custom shading gives you the ability to set your charts up with safe boating depths or fishing depths so you can use your maps the way you want to. Okay guys, let's talk about custom shading. You can set the unit up so that different depths are different colors when you use custom shading. And this is great if you're out running and you are in your boat and you want to make sure you don't go too shallow or something like that. If you have a boat that has a deep draft, you can set it up for that so that you can see on your map where you can't go. It's also great when you're fishing. You can set the colors up to kind of show what you want, where you kind of, if you're catching fish in a certain depth of water, you can highlight it with the custom shading. So let's show you how. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to set up the custom depth shading on your unit. Now remember, the important thing that you need to know about this is you have to use one of our CMap cards to get the custom shading to show up. So we're going to go under more options. We go to chart options, and then we scroll down just a little bit and you can see where it says shading. I'm going to go ahead and touch that, and you have depth 1 and depth 2. So this is great because you can set it up for the shading to, you know, you can have two different palettes set up and ready to go however you want to do it. So to set them up, we're going to go to custom right here, and you can see custom 1 and custom 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and start setting up the colors on how I like them. So right here where it says 0, I'm going to touch that. And you can see these colors can be changed. So since 0 is a bad thing, I'm going to set that to red. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and touch the second one down. The depth was set at 40 feet, but I want to change that to 5 feet. And then I want to change this color to orange. And then I say OK. So now that I've got that one set to orange, my next one I'm going to do, it says 80 feet. I want to change that to 10 feet, and I'm going to set it to yellow. So by changing all of these, what that allows is it gives me the ability to know just kind of where these color depth changes are and things like that. And then using colors that are kind of matching yet contrasting, that helps in the fact that these change on a gradient. So like from 5 to 10 feet, it's not going to go instantly from one color to the next. It's going to kind of start gradually changing that color. So my next one, it is set at 120 feet. and I really want it to be at 20 feet. So we'll just change that to a 0. And then I'm going to change that to green, because I know if I'm in 20 feet of water, I should actually be really good to go and kind of safe to run. Then after that, my next one, I'm going to change that to 40 feet. Now you can set these depths at just whatever you like. It's whatever you're comfortable with. So for a little bit of contrast at the 40-foot range, I'm going to set that to white. So now you can see I've used all of the colors that were there. If I want to add more depth lines, then all I have to do is say add point and tell it what depth I want it to change at. So I'm going to do this one at 75. And then at 75, I'm going to make it kind of a blue color. And then I want to add one more point, and I'm going to change that out to 150. And I'm going to use that dark blue color for it because that's the color I like. So now that I've got all of those set, I hit X out of here. And then if I turn on depth shading 1, wow, look how that map changes. So you can see where the shallow is, the red, you know, that's kind of that 0 foot mark. And so it gradients out to my next color point, which is orange at 5 feet. So as I zoom in here, you can see how that gradient changes out from 0 feet to 5 feet where it's nice and orange. And then I go to yellow at 10 feet. And as you can see, as we move out to the yellow, it, you know, to the 10-foot range, it kind of changes there. And then green into the 20 foot. So you can see the gradients start to change in the 11, 12, 13, and how we get out here into the 20 foot and it goes green. And then 40 foot is white, and above 40 foot is that light blue. And then if I get into some really deep pockets, which I don't have on this lake, over 150 feet, it's going to be a super dark blue. But as you can see, that really shows, it pops. It shows an area I may want to fish. It's amazing. And the other thing that you can do with it is if you get out here and you can look in some of these lakes and some of these areas, and as we zoom in, you can see stuff that starts to pop. I know one of the lakes that I saw this on, we'll just go ahead and zoom out here. And I'm going to scroll over to a different lake that I go to quite often. Some of y'all may have heard of it, Grand Lake of the Cherokees. There's been several Bassmaster Classics that have been fished there. But if we come in here and we just zoom in and let's look at this with this gradient. I mean, wow, look at this. See this red island? I mean, that just pops up right in the middle. So if you weren't paying attention, you might run aground if you were running just looking at a map. So let's go ahead and turn my depth shading off real quick and you can see what I'm talking about. So I've turned it off. So if you just look at that map, you might think, all right, instead of following this channel around, I can just cut right through there. With this depth shading on, look at that. I mean, if I were running through there, I would know, hey, I've got to avoid that spot, because if I'm running through there full throttle, I've got a chance of winding up beached, and that would not be a good thing when you're kind of out in the middle of the lake. So using your custom depth shading is great for things like finding humps to fish, because you can see the contour change. Again, it's good for finding these spots that really much come up out of the water. It doesn't necessarily show that it's an island right there. And if the lake's down low, you're definitely going to have an island there. But if the lake's at a normal pool level or a little bit high, it's going to show you that, hey, if you're going to run through this area, you need to be careful because there's a shallow spot. All right, guys, so those are just a few ways that you can use this custom shading on your Lowrance units to give you the features and the ability to use it how you want to, whether you're boating or fishing.
Hey guys, Jacob Scott, Lowrance Product Expert. Today, we're going to show you the easiest way to find the best spot to mount your heading sensor on your boat, be it a 0.1, a Precision 9, or even your heading sensor for your Ghost trolling motor. The easiest way to find the great spot is using this cheap little device, a compass. Okay guys, something as simple as a cheap little compass from Walmart or any other sporting goods stores. I picked this one up for $4. Now the great thing is when you pull it out, your arrow is going to point to magnetic north. As you can see, north is behind us. So as I move it around the boat, I can see up here in this area, we don't have any magnetic interference. So this looks like the spot that I'm going to put my heading sensor for my ghost trolling motor. Now the other thing I want to show you, this is a great little idea to make sure where you're going to put it works for you. As you can see down here, I've used these little picture hangers that you can get at Walmart. Again, any other hardware store. You attach these to the picture and put it on the wall. It gives you the ability to move it around. So I like to use these, put them on the boat, put them on my heading sensor. As you can see, it's pretty solid. It's not going to move anywhere. So this allows me to put it on the boat and test the location that I put it before I drill any holes in my boat. On my T-top on this boat, I've got some speakers up here. As I move my compass up here next to the speaker on my T-top, the arrow points right next to the speaker because of the magnet that's on the back of these speakers. So when I get on top of my T-top, I want to make sure I have my compass up here with me also. I don't want to put my 0.1 or any other type of heading sensor, Precision 9, something like that. I don't want to put it on top of this T-top next to the speaker because then I'm going to get magnetic interference and that'll cause problems with the heading sensor. Okay, so right here, we're about 12 inches from where that speaker is. I'm outside the magnetic field, so this is a great spot, and that's why I've got my 0.1 heading sensor right there. Okay guys, so that's how with a cheap compass and a few minutes of your time, you can find the best location on your boat to locate a heading sensor, be it a 0.1, Precision 9, trolling motor compass, anything like that. Okay guys, in our last video, we showed you how to connect those power poles to your Lowrance units. Today we're going to take it one step further and we're going to show you how from the Lowrance unit you can connect those power poles to your ghost foot pedal and control them from the front of your boat. If you missed that video guys, just go ahead and click on the link on your screen and you can watch that video now. But let's go ahead and show you how to get everything connected. Okay guys, from our autopilot menu, you can set up your features here. As you can see, like our arrival mode, mine's set in standby and I really want it in anchor mode. So what that does is when I get to the spot that I tell my trolling motor to go, it anchors there. But what we're really here to talk about is these configuration keys. So if I hit configure it, trolling motor, you can see number 1 is set for constant on and there's no function set for 2 and 3. I want to program my power poles here. The constant on is not something I'm really going to use a whole lot for myself. So what I'm going to do is I hit the drop down menu and you can see I have auto up and auto down. So since my number 1 button is kind of on the top of the foot pedal, just as a reminder myself, I'm going to make that my auto up. And then the number 2 is on the bottom of the foot pedal, so I'm going to make that my auto down. So now that I've selected those two, and as you can see button 3, I don't have any function on that. Actually, let's just go ahead and set that to mark a waypoint. So if I step on that one, I can mark a waypoint. So now I've got all of those programmed and I hit save. So now you would think we're ready to use the power pole from the trolling motor. Not just yet. What you need to do is hit your power pole dialog box, and as you can see, they're going to go ahead and connect. You'll see they light up in the red and the green so that we know that we're connected. And I'm going to go ahead and link mine together because that's how I like to operate it. Now the important thing to remember with using your ghost foot pedal control is this dialog box needs to be open on one of your units on the boat if you want to use it with the ghost foot pedal. All right, as we talked about, I programmed the button number 1 at the top to raise my power poles and the button number 2 at the bottom to lower my power poles. So if I hit this button, my power poles go down. They deploy all the way until they stop. And then when I hit the number 1 button, my power poles come back up. Okay guys, in a nutshell, that's how you connect your power poles to your ghost foot pedal. Remember, the important thing to remember is if you're going to use those power poles on that ghost foot pedal, you have to have the power pole dialog box open somewhere on your screen.
Yeah, you can see them as plain as day.
Whoa!
So one of my favorite
That's crazy.
I was blown away by Active Target. Just, it exceeded any and all expectations I had. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just amazing. it's the ultimate form of video gaming as you could possibly get. This is gaming next level.
It really opened up my eyes to things that I never knew happened.
We was messing around, just pitch a little crappie jig in there, and all of a sudden you see the jig come right down in there and you see the fish come to it. I mean, it was like that. If it's not just gonna show you where the fish are, it's gonna make you learn a lot more, I think.
I'm not sure what kind of voodoo they've included in the software, but it's incredibly impressive.
You can watch a 1/16 ounce crappie jig fall through a treetop 30 foot in front of the boat and watch the fish follow the little crappie jig around.
So we pull up on the brush pile, and so we see a bunch of fish, and then we see Edwin's bait go down to the fish, and the next thing you know, he's got a 2.5 pound bass. I'm not sure there's a better first impression than immediately catching a bass and watching it happen right in front of you. So first impression, really good.
Never before in a mid-price range Lowrance unit have we had the ability to network 2 units. And you could do that with the Elite 9 and 7 FS. No additional boxes needed. So sharing information between your back and front unit just became so easy.
It's just a complete different universe that we're taking this fishing to, and there's no bass safe out there.
Wow, you'd have just seen what some of our pros had to say about the new Active Target and Elite FS. But today, we're live on the water. I'm Lucas Stewart, Executive Vice President for Lowrance, and we're here at Lake Tenkiller, about an hour and a half away from our Tulsa office. And today we're gonna show you some structure and fish with our Active Target live sonar. And we're gonna be in some special permission area inside a dive park to look at some really unique structure. We've got a school bus, an airplane, and even a helicopter to go check out. But first, we're gonna talk about our Elite FS. We've got our product manager, Matthew Lassiter, and he's gonna go join Jordan Lee in his boat. A little bit about Jordan you may not know, but he is the 2020 MLF Angler of the Year. He won the very first Bass Pro Tour event at Kissimmee, Florida, and the championship. So a lot on Jordan. You'll get to see what he thinks live on the water. So first up, Matthew, why don't you tell us about Elite FS?
Yeah, so Elite FS is our new kind of mid-level system. It's meant to replace the Elite TI2 series that most people are probably familiar with. So we've done a lot of work and added a lot of features that would have been found in our HDS series. Just, kind of give that mid-level angler a lot more benefits.
That's awesome. Looks like you've got the box right there. Can you tell us a little bit about how it comes?
Yeah, so this is actually the packaging right here. This is a totally new box for us. We have a really big project we've been working on for the last year and a half or so, really just to make our packaging more sustainable. We all have to, do our part and, making sure the water and everything that we go out, everywhere we go fish is, nice and clean. So we've done a lot of good work around just the design of the box. So you see just a sleeve that pops off, and then we just have a nice kind of open flap here with our new big welcome card. But then the cool thing is when you flip this up, you see everything about the display, right here. And there's no single-use plastics in here at all either.
That's great.
So no plastic bags, nothing that's gonna, end up in somebody's waterway and, pollute the water. So pretty nice.
That's great. So the Elite FS, where does it fit in the Lowrance portfolio?
Yeah, so in Lowrance, we have 3 different levels of displays, right? So we have our Hook Reveal series, which is our more entry-level focus. It comes in a 7-inch, a 5-inch, or a 9-inch with different options for sonar as well. But those are really designed, for an angler who, maybe doesn't necessarily remember exactly how to, run through the menus and stuff next time he gets on his boat, right? So super easy to use, really easy to install. Just kind of made for that more entry-level type guy, right? Exactly. Elite FS is our new mid-level series. So if you want a little bit more features, you want maybe some networking, touchscreen, some better sonar performance, you step a little bit up to Elite FS. But then our ultimate fishing system, the best one that we make is HDS Live. That's right. So for an angler that wants multiple displays on a boat, wants to control everything that's going on while they're fishing, and HDS Live is going to be the product for you.
That's awesome. So let's take a look at that Elite FS.
Yeah.
What sizes does it come in?
Yeah, so we have 2 screen sizes. We have a 7-inch and a 9-inch. I will show you the 9 here. Let me just pop the sun cover off, and you can see nice flat design, flat piece of glass, really slim, kind of modern, brand new modern design. And then we did a lot of really smart things in the overall, you know, mechanical design of this as well. So nice, you know, simplified keypad, really only has the buttons on it you need. We did add in one programmable button on here. So one of the biggest things that we've gotten asked in all of our consumer testing is, why can't I have a button that does something, right?
Right.
So in HDS Live, when we launched that a couple years ago, we put 4 programmable buttons on the front, right? So you can just, as an angler, just set it up to do whatever you want. So on both sizes of Elite FS, we've got 1 here. So
awesome. And the SD card slot?
Yep, SD card slot is tucked away nicely right under the Lowrance logo here. So both sizes have a single micro slot, and they're both just right under the logo. Yeah, it's really nice. And it seals really well too, so you just push that right down and you're back to being totally waterproof.
Awesome. Well, you showed us the outside, but tell us a little bit about what's inside, especially the sonar.
Yeah, sonar and a lot of the things we did on the inside are you know, really awesome things. So standard sonar that we all, you know, all come to know and love. So SideScan, downscan, 1 kW traditional chirp, all built in right here. So most of these will come with an active imaging 3-in-1 in the box. But the really awesome thing we've added is this yellow connector right here. This is an Ethernet connector. The biggest thing that's going to allow us to do is network in the new active target sonar.
That's incredible. That's what this product range really needed, right?
Exactly.
Oh, very cool. So mapping, next favorite thing for me. Sonar helps you find the fish, but that mapping, it lets you get that pre-fishing done.
Mapping is super important, and we'll look at this on Jordan's boat in a little bit, but just so everybody has an overview, this has got a totally new embedded chart in it. So you remember earlier in the year we did our Contour Plus update for HDS Live. This has got a newer version of Contour Plus in it, and we're working on rolling that out in the other products as well. But here in the US, we have inland and coastal, US and Canada embedded.
That's a big map.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It basically means anywhere you go on the continent, you don't need a chart card. It's got the map in here already. It's 1-foot contours basically everywhere, custom chart shading basically everywhere. So that's really awesome. We have the same sort of detail and the same kind of coverage in Australia and New Zealand. So if you're down there in that part of the world and you buy an Elite FS, you'll get an awesome Australia-New Zealand chart as well.
Oh, very cool. So this product, we're here on a lake, and I know that, you know, Lowrance is famous for our freshwater fishing, but tell us a little bit about what it could do for a saltwater angler.
Yeah, so saltwater, this thing is going to be really good, right? So we know we have that 1 kW built in. You know, saltwater guys are always looking for more power. So we can drive a 1 kW transducer straight from here. But one of the really biggest features for saltwater is going to be the fact that we have full-on networking now, right?
Right.
So we can put in radar domes. So anybody who wants to run a Halo, you know, one of the new arrays, run that right here from an Elite FS. That's something we never had before. So that's going to be a really big benefit as well. Also, we also have outboard pilot control. So if you got our you know, normal outboard pilot, plug that right into your NEMA 2000, and you got full control there too.
With so much in the mid-range, why does people still want to have an HDS?
Yeah, so we were careful to make sure that we brought over features that made this, you know, the best value fish finder on the market, but we also were pretty careful to not take away from HDS as well, right? So HDS will still have plenty of things that add value to it over this. Things like larger screen sizes, right? We know a lot of guys like running 12s. So if you're a 12-inch screen size angler, you're going to be an HDS angler as well. Other things like, you know, HDS still has bigger, brighter screens, higher resolution. The biggest difference though is the larger sizes of HDS have multiple Ethernet ports on the back. So it's going to be a lot easier to build a big complex system with an HDS.
Yeah, the big thing for me is those displays. The IPS screens, the Ultramax that we put into our HDS, so clear to see even with sunglasses.
Yeah, they're awesome. That's the biggest benefit, is they don't black out with polarized sunglasses.
Awesome. Well, let's take a moment and go see what it looks like on the water.
Let's do it. right, so I moved over here to Jordan Lee's boat, and he and I are going to play around with the new Elite FS and just show you guys some of the things that it can do. So Jordan, you've been playing with this a little bit. Tell me, before we get going, just tell me what you think.
Honestly, I mean, it's an awesome unit. For what, you know, this unit cost, I mean, I would be willing to put it on my boat. I mean, everything, like you were saying, everything in an HDS, what I'm looking at right here, it looks really similar. So really cool features, you know, able to put active target on it. I think that's definitely going to be a bonus for this unit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool having a display in a little smaller package like this, so that we could run active target on, right?
Yep, and we got a 9-inch unit on this boat, and you know, like Matthew said, you know, we're going to walk you through and just show you the features of this unit and what it's got to offer. But definitely a good fit right here.
Yeah, so we've got this Elite FS. It's networked up to Jordan's Ghost trolling motor here, so we have total control over that as well. I'm sure you use that all the time.
Yep.
But then the fun bit is we actually have it networked to your active target as well.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Got it networked there, and I mean, it's for, you know, crappie guys, you know, for people that don't want to, you know, have a 12-inch unit like you were saying, this is the perfect setup.
Yeah, and what's even cooler is it's actually networked to your HDS back at the console, right? So we were talking about networking earlier. Tell me, how much does networking help you out? I mean, I know you guys spend a lot of time at the console, you know, side scanning, looking for structure.
Well, it's just important, you know, when you find something, you know, a brush pile or anything you want to mark and be able to see it up front on. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
It's pretty nice when you can mark a waypoint on a side scan at the console, and then when you move up here to fish, your waypoint's just here.
It's there, and you're not up here searching. You know exactly where it's at, and you know you can make that quick cast. So it's definitely it's definitely a good feature.
Yeah. So since we're talking about waypoints, we'll just have a look at the chart. So this is I was mentioning earlier, the Contour Plus embedded chart. That's the new one that we've got for Elite FS. And you can see here, Jordan's already got it colored with our default custom color shading.
Yeah, and you know, like Matthew was saying, you know, this comes standard. This is not an added chip. I mean, which is, you know, phenomenal, right?
Yeah, that is the chart that's embedded in every Elite FS, so in the US anyway.
In the US, so if you forget your chip, or if you're like me, I mean, I got a different boat and I only have one chip, sometimes I can't find it, it's already, you know, in the unit itself, which is a big benefit, you know, to anybody, really.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. So let's just have a look at some of the other things. If you're familiar with our, you know, the way an HDS or even an Elite TI2 runs, it's pretty simple, right? We have just our homepage button here. So when you press that, that'll take you straight to your homepage, and this is where you can get to any of your functions. So you notice I pressed chart earlier. We'll press active target now so you can see that come up and running. And we're in kind of deep water, I think, right here. This is probably, well, 80 feet.
Yep. And you can see all the, what we're seeing right here is just a bunch of bait. Out in about 40 foot. Like he said, we're over some deep water, but just the clarity.
As soon as I turn it on, the fish know, right? They're already scared.
This active target, what I'm most impressed about is you can see the clarity, and it just shows you what's in front of your boat. I've never personally been able to see that. So it's definitely. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with this.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep the active target stuff for when Gary gets to talk about it.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me. I'm excited about it. But that option on this unit is just a definitely, you know, a great package.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. So we talked a little bit about the networking. We talked a little bit about active target. Let's talk about the sonar. Right. So, you know, I mean, you're probably one of the most hardcore sonar users I know. So tell me a little bit about what you do, you know, sonar-wise, what you're looking for, how you run your setup.
You know, really the first thing that I love about this, you know, Lowrance. On auto depth, so that's definitely you know, something that I think Lowrance does a great job with.
Yeah, so you like running your stuff pretty much on auto, right?
Yeah, auto, and then, you know, if I'm on a lake that's not like as clear as like a 10 killer, and you get, you know, a little bit more fuzz, then I'll, you know, start adjusting it. But you really don't have to adjust it very much.
But even when you're adjusting it, right, you're using the auto and
Correct.
biasing it plus up and down, right?
Yep.
Not actually taking it and putting it in manual.
Exactly. But it's really a plug and play deal. You know, you hear guys talking about, oh man, I had to do this, I had to adjust my sensitivity. You really don't have to do that with these units. And you know, set it on auto if you're especially, you know, kind of a first-time user, and it's going to show the picture that I'm seeing, you know, and what I use.
Yeah.
So
that's really powerful, right? I mean, I know you're using this, you know, all day, every day, basically,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but the Sonar is definitely top notch, especially for a unit like this.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about the traditional sonar. Let's have a look at the SideScan. And we're in a little bit of deep water here for SideScan, but it's all right, it'll work. So with SideScan, I mean, you know, Jordan, I mean, this is probably your most powerful sonar tool, right? It's your biggest view of the water.
It is. I mean, I've used it a lot the last several years, and you know, for guys that want to have this option on this unit, I mean, it's definitely the total package. When it comes to SideScan, like you said, we're a little bit over, you know, more deep water right here.
Yeah, but even out here in 100 feet deep,
it's
right,
still
we're still
picking
seeing
up
all this stuff in the top part.
Yeah, it's still picking up, and
yeah. I mean, there's the school bus right there.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Right over the top of it.
Yeah, we got a school bus, like they said, an airplane, all kinds of stuff out here. But you know, this is a really good tool to have, and you know, when I'm searching out left and right, you know, typically a good setting for that, you got it on 120. That 100-foot range is awesome for seeing school buses and airplanes like we're doing right here.
Well, finding whatever piece of structure you're trying to fish, right?
That's right.
If you're looking for a brush pile, you know, if you're looking for, you know, maybe a little inlet cut down,
Yep.
you know, that's exactly what it's for, right?
Yep.
Just finding the spot you're going to be fishing.
And you can always play with the pallets, but then again, you know, the contrast, you know, auto, or if you take it off auto, around that 72, you know, it's on 68 right there, but on that 72 is always what I pretty much leave it on.
It looks pretty good on that 9-inch Elite FS.
Yeah, and you don't really want to touch it. Yeah, it looks great. The flat screen and everything, even when it's raining, you know, I thought that was one of the awesome features about that flat surface, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't catch water down there in the bottom.
Doesn't catch water, so it's definitely the total package.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. I think do we have some questions to answer? Some Q&A questions? Okay.
Like you said, if you want to put a chip, you already mentioned that on the side, but this looks just like, to me, I mean, looking at it, this looks just like an HDS that I use on my bows.
Yeah.
I mean, from, you know, if you would have took the sides off of it, I would have said that's an HDS unit. So, which that's really cool.
Yeah.
And
well, it's really nice for, you know, an angler who maybe has a mixed network, or if you've upgraded from one system to the other, right?
Yep.
Every Lowrance looks and feels the same, right? So you should be pretty familiar with it as soon as you jump on the boat.
Yep, and the clarity of it's really just like HDS. So
yeah,
definitely a great option if you're, you know, like you said, that moderate level getting into units.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen a few people ask is, you know, running split screens and stuff, right? We talked about a full screen chart. We talked about a full screen sonar. What are some of the split screens that you like running? This one is actually my favorite, but I don't get paid to catch fish professionally.
No, that's right.
So
yeah, I mean, honestly, when I'm up front, you know, if I'm up here fishing and, you know, it's just an everyday kind of deal, you know, I'm a chart, like you said, sonar. It's kind of old school, but when I'm up front, I really like to see what's under the boat. But now, you know, it's kind of total different with the active target. I know they're going to get into it, but this is, you know, one screen I'm going to have up here a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, splitting that up with chart so you can see where you're at is.
Well, on your normal boat, you have a little bit more up here than a single
correct.
9-inch screen, right?
But you can, you know, the cool thing about it, you know, you can put whatever chart you want to, and I feel like that's a great feature on this too. You know, if you want a chart, sonar, and you want down scan, there you go.
Yep.
It's quick, it's easy, and there you go.
And that fish reveal on down scan is pretty nice too, right? So you can see here the school of bait, and you can see a couple of, you know, target fish hanging out around them.
Yeah, I like to fish
all on
reveal.
one panel.
You know, when you're around, like you said, a lot of bait like that, and you want to, you know, you're looking for those individual fish, it's going to stick out a lot more than it would on, you know, traditional sonar.
Yeah.
I want to click on that so bad.
Jordan just wants to play with the new stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But the old stuff works too, and you definitely have to remember that. But chart sonar like that, you know, the clarity of it, total fishing package.
So let's go a little bit again back to networking, right? We talked a little bit about why you would want two displays, you know, one maybe at the console, one at the front.
Yep.
Talk about having, you know, control over Ghost or, you know, NEMA 2000, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, the Ghost, you know, having it on here now, if I want to control it, if I want to, you know, hit anchor lock on it, I'm able to do that.
Yeah,
with
just
the graph
pick a
itself.
spot on the chart, right?
Yep, pick a spot on the chart. But the options are really unlimited with it. And, you know, I think it'll just make you a more, you know, total fisherman, and you can kind of take advantage of those things like the network and, I guess, things that the anglers haven't been able to do in the past. Well, let's click on here and just, let's see if we can go to the, where's the option for the, you're going to have to help me here for the trolling motor. Do we have
I don't think we hooked it up, actually. It would be on the sidebar.
Yeah, it would be on the sidebar. That's where it is when it's hooked up.
Yeah.
We just put this unit on here this morning. But yeah, I mean,
so I can't get over that chart. That's pretty awesome.
yeah, and you know, if you want to adjust your splits and stuff like that too, I mean, it's all customizable. I mean, anything you want to do with this unit, and whatever, you know, kind of fisherman you are, if you're more of a sonar guy and you kind of want a little, you know, down scan screen on there, you're able to do that. So these units are, you know, it's not just one thing that comes on it. You can totally customize it, you know, whatever way that fits you.
Yeah, and having
everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody is. That's what I was about to say. Everybody's different. So even we've been playing around with the 9, right? But having this also in a 7-inch screen size is really good too, right? You could totally put a 7 right here next to this 9, right?
Yep.
And you know, they have them networked together. They play nicely even with an HDS. Really cool.
So what did you say that, I don't know if you're going to talk about it now, the price point on this?
Yeah, so there's 2 sizes, and I'll just point you to the website because it's a little bit different all over the world.
Yeah.
But having the two screen sizes, you know, the 7-inch and the 9-inch, they're actually the prices are really nice. So just like I said, just go to Lowrance.com if you're interested in seeing the pricing, and it'll be correct for you and your region.
Yep, and this is a 9-inch unit that we have on this boat right now. So it's really like kind of that perfect size.
And there's even a couple of different options, right? So the 9 comes either with or without an active imaging 3-in-1.
Okay.
And then the 7, we have it with and without a 3-in-1, but then there's also a version with an HDI. So you have chirp and downscan in that version as well.
Gotcha.
But the nice thing is it's actually the exact same sonar-wise display. So even if you buy a no transducer or if you buy one with an HDI and you decide you want SideScan, you just go pick up a 3-in-1, plug it in, and you're good to go.
You're good to go.
All right, we're getting a little far away from the camera boat here. I think they are ready to flip it over. So I think with that, Jordan, I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I think
man,
we got you back for some
Yeah.
Q&A in a little bit. But with that, we will kick it over back over to Lucas, and we'll talk a little bit about Active Target.
All right, that is an awesome product. So many features, such great value, and he showed you a little bit about Active Target. So next up, I've got Jeremiah Clark here, product director. He's going to tell us a lot about Active Target, and he's going to go out on the water with Gary Klein. Gary is co-founder of MLF, also a seasoned angler, fished over 500 professional tournaments, many wins, and a wealth of knowledge. So Jeremiah, let's start with, what is Active Target?
Kind of the short answer is Active Target is the best live sonar on the market. It's the highest resolution, it's the clearest, as you'll see when we get on the water. And basically, you know, we went for clarity, resolution, and detail on this product. That's what consumers tell us they look for when they're looking for really any sonar product in fresh water, you know, or even salt water. But really, it comes to resolution, clarity, and how well can they have a tool to help them find fish. And we think with Active Target, the live sonar, the views of being able to actually see structure, see fish, see your baits, see bait in real time and react to you is just it's game changing for our Lowrance anglers for sure.
Yeah, I know you and I have spent a lot of time testing and developing this product.
Testing,
And
yeah.
it's really changed the way we're on the water. But why don't you break it down? Tell us what all is included with the Active Target.
Yeah, so the Active Target unit itself, it's a transducer and a module, which we'll just go and unbox one here. Kind of the same message that Matthew talked about. I've got a much bigger, more unwieldy box than he did. But it's kind of the same thing. It's all sustainable packaging. There's a module, a transducer, and then all of the trolling motor mounts you need are in the box. We have a shaft mount that can do our 3 views, forward, down, and scout, which we'll show you here in a little bit. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. We also have, those are for if you're mounting on a hybrid or a cable steer type motor and you can mount on the shaft. We also have mounts that'll go onto the motor itself if you're using an electric steer and you can't shaft mount. Or if you just didn't want to shaft mount something and you wanted more of a dedicated view, in this box we have a scout mount and we also have a down forward mount that'll go right on the shaft. The only other thing in the box really is an Ethernet cable and a power cable, but it is all in sustainable packaging. It is the first time we are using, instead of foam, we're using totally compostable mushroom. And it kind of sounds weird, you think, oh, you guys are hippies. No, really, we're trying to protect this clean, clear lake that we fish out of right now, right? We want to make sure that we protect and respect the place that we go for our recreation, for our profession. And by doing that, by taking out all single-use plastics, we have that ability. And, again, using materials that are naturally available and they're going to break down.
That's awesome. Great. So you've covered a little bit of the views and all that, but you're kind of a sonar nerd in my opinion. Can you, for us average folks, kind of explain the technology, how it works?
Yeah, the 10,000 foot view, this is a technology called frequency steered sonar, or frequency steered sonar arrays. And the way it works is we, through a series of these arrays, if you see the transducer, there are 3 faces to this transducer. And there's nothing unique about this. What we're doing versus what's been done in the commercial space for years. This technology is really not new. This technology is new to our market. But there's really nothing unique or special about the actual science of this. The science has been around for 100 years. The magic is in the actual transducer design, the hardware design, and all of the, I call it the typing. Our software engineers hate to say that, but the actual DSP, the signal processing, the coding. And the way that this works is there are these 3 basically, let's just call them arrays. Each one of these, you could think about it like its own transducer, even though there's actually many different pieces in there. In each one of these arrays, we sweep those from a low frequency to a high frequency, frequency steered. We steer from low to high. And that's what you actually get out to each array. You get 2 sections. And now you sew all those together, you get 6 full sections that sew that together to be a 135 degree beam from top to bottom. And then you actually sweep through all of those beams and all of those sections live, and you get live sonar. You can actually see the fish swim. The first time I saw fins move on a fish, I got kind of goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing about watching the fish swim and react in real time is every time you put the bait in the water, something's going to come look at it, and the speed that they come look at it is insane. So like, there's no delay, there's no lag. You drop the lure in the water, you see the fish come up, and then from there, it's either up to the fish, your presentation, or your lure on if you're actually going to catch that fish or not.
That's awesome. So you're really entrenched in the project, and you've been working on it for some time now. Can you give us an idea, kind of, what does it take? How long does it take? What kind of resources, are at your disposal to do this?
Well, I wish we had more resources. Everybody does, right? But the project itself, like the actual physical project, us spending money, us having guys work on it, kicked off early 2019. So we're talking almost 2 years into the actual project. Kind of the funny thing, and you and I chatted about this on the way up to the lake, right? I remember when I first became a product manager, there was a young product manager named Lucas Stewart. Looked basically the same. This guy doesn't age. He had on his roadmap a thing called live stationary downscan. And I thought, man, that would be really awesome. We looked at some products that we'd seen in the commercial space that were built for submarines, for unmanned underwater vehicles. And we're talking, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 systems that are usually only used by militaries or survey companies. And Lucas had the idea, let's put that on a fishing boat. Okay, we didn't know how. So basically that was 2014, 2015. The steps we've taken to get to this point, we look at live sonar. That was our first iteration of live sonar, and it was still trying to build to this point we're at today. So we've had a lot of people come and go since. A lot of things have changed in the company, but the getting to this goal and getting to this point was a 5 to 6 year process. The actual project was only about 2 years once we started working in earnest. What it takes, man, it takes the smartest hardware team, the smartest software team, the guys on the mechanical team, just to build the brackets. We probably spent more time talking brackets than we did talking the crystals we use in the transducer, right? I mean, these are all very important parts. We have the best team in the industry working to make the best products.
I think that bracket's key. So that's the good side of the how it gets done and what resolution it is. But tell us about those different modes or use cases and how important they are.
Yeah, so one of the things along the way, you and I chatted 2 years ago, and we said, would somebody actually change views on the water? And until we actually got really to use the product and used to using the product, it was a big question mark. But one thing I did insist during the project was, if we're going to make a bracket that's adjustable, it has to be adjustable without any tools, and it has to be a quick change, right? You're not going to stop fishing for minutes or even 30 seconds to change a view. So the way that a bracket's laid out is it's super simple, especially if you got the shaft mount bracket. There's a knob to adjust to go from scout to forward, and then on the transducer there's a knob to adjust from forward to down. It's only 2 clicks to go from forward to down. So you make those 2 real quick adjustments, trolling motor back in the water, and you're off fishing before your boat's even drifted off the spot.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those 3 different modes, tell us a little bit about the use case, and you'll probably do that with Gary in just a second, but just quick highlight.
Yeah, so the kind of the elevator pitch, I guess, on these modes is there's forward mode, which is if you're an active casting fisherman, you're trying to line up, you're trying to look out to structure, you're trying to look out to bait fish, you want to line up a cast, you want to actively target your next cast. That's how we came up with the name. We're thinking about this kind of like a gun sight, right? You're actually lining up exactly what you're trying to do. That's the forward mode. I'm looking out, I see the structure out in front of me, I know it's 50 feet away, I know the fish are 30 feet down, I can make a cast to them and actively target that next cast. So that's the forward mode. The down mode, man, it kind of, when you and I started playing with this, I hadn't fished for crappie probably since I was a kid fishing with my grandpa on a john boat with a cane pole, right?
Right.
Like, it's just not something that I became kind of eaten up with bass fishing, and that's all I really did. But the down mode, man, it is a live well filler.
Yeah.
You get on a brush pile, you drop the jig down, and you can watch the fish swarm and attack that jig or not. And that tells you a lot. Are you at the right depth? Are you jigging too fast, or should you be moving at all? Do you have the right color on? So I've crappie fished more this summer testing this product than I probably have since I was a kid. It's something that I haven't thought I was going to do in a while. It's a great presentation for other anglers that aren't crappie fishing. If you're fishing directly on a brush pile, on a ledge, on a drop-off, and you're dropping straight down 2 fish, the down is great. I think the view we're going to show here, because of the conditions we're in, and we kind of wanted to show off some of the dive park, is the down view.
Right.
We normally would adjust and show all the different angles, but the way our camera mounts are lined up, if I adjust the angles, I put one of our camera guys' cameras in the water and he gets really mad at me. So we're going to roll with down view today. The other one that we have is scout view. So that's, again, you adjust this knob, you tilt the bracket up, and you point the transducer straight forward. And there's a bunch of different use cases for it, and I'm still feeling it out. So what I found that I really like is looking for schooling fish, whether it's bait fish or predator fish that are out roaming around. If I know I'm near a brush pile and I've already used my SideScan to locate that brush pile and got my trolling motor down, and I kind of want to see, how are the fish relating to the brush pile? Are there a lot of them around? But really for me, especially this time of year, man, it is all about looking for bait fish. Pull up on a spot, look around, take a peek, see if there are bait fish. Usually if there are bait fish, there's people looking to eat them, right?
That's right.
But yeah, you can use it for structure, you can use it for bait, you can even use it for those individual schools of roaming fish.
Nice. So we're on a lake today, but somebody got to sneak out and do a little saltwater testing. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you found out in saltwater.
First of all, that somebody wasn't me. As you can tell, my tan went away when the summer did. But yeah, so we built this product specifically for freshwater use, and we thought all along, if it works in salt, that's great, but we didn't want to make any compromises, right? Like, we wanted to make the best product for anglers that are using it in those down and forward scenarios. So what kind of, when we sent Matthew down to the Florida Keys to do some testing, it was a little bit of surprise when we started getting videos back that he's in 120 feet of water picking out the details of a wreck. Like, I mean, when I say the details, I don't mean see the hull. I mean, you could see the turret of this old Navy ship that was sunk, the perfectly round turret matched up perfectly with the picture. You could watch the diver go down to the wreck. You could see tarpon, swimming around. There's one that he's got with a barracuda slashing through a school of bait fish and this huge Goliath grouper on the bottom in 80 feet of water. So there was always kind of a big joke with us in marketing, like, will it work in salt? And I kept saying, should. The science says it should, but don't know till we can see it. Obviously, with 2020 being 2020, it's not like we can all hop on a plane and go test stuff whenever we want, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So that actually get those feedback and see how well it worked was really amazing and really encouraging. And we made a freshwater product that works phenomenally in saltwater.
That's awesome. Well, let's go out and look at it live on the water.
All right.
Seeing the fish, their position, and how they respond in real time. That's game changing.
All right, here we are, water on Gary Klein's boat. It's not every day you get to hop on an MLF Pro's boat and go play around with some new toys, but here we are taking a peek at the new toys. We are right now in some pretty deep water in the down mode. If you look out around, there's some buoys. These buoys each mark a piece of structure. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to pull in and look at some of this here in a second, but just instantly motor down water. We're in 60 feet of water, a little bit to the front of us. Look at these schools of bait fish already in 60 feet of water. Look at these bigger, larger predator fish down here on the bottom. So Gary, like if you were to pull up on this spot, which obviously I know we're in a protected spot, this isn't a spot you'd normally fish, but if you rolled up on this spot and you saw kind of this activity on the screen, what's kind of the first thing that goes through your mind and what do you want to do?
Well, I tell you, let me just start out by saying that, you know, Lowrance electronics I've always stated are my underwater eyes. I mean, this is the tool that I use to see below the surface. So all the information I can gather from my unit just makes me a better angler. But when I drop the trolling motor and I see the fish suspended or on the bottom or relating up current, down current, as an angler, it gives me an opportunity to kind of adjust my cast, lures I'm going to use. But let me just say this, you know, I've had the opportunity to be kind of involved in this for a little while.
Yeah.
From the very beginning of the concept I just listened to you talk about with Lucas to where it is today. To watch an idea, a thought, you know, materialize and become a reality is a pretty cool, you know, to be a part of that. But the clarity of this unit is by far superior than anything I have ever seen in my life. We're fixing to come up on a school bus right here. We've been over the top of it, so we know exactly how to run on it. But God, the clarity, you can see the windows there on the school bus. You can see how the fish are relating to the school bus. And again, this is a full-size school bus. This is not a little shorty. And it's laid out so the rear end is up. And you can see the fish sitting up on top of the bus, suspended off to the side of the bus.
Just swimming around.
So as an angler, that's the information right there that just literally, I thrive on that. I mean, I want to fish right now. You can see the fish on the right side of the school bus. They're on the right side of the school bus because look at the sun. That school bus is casting a shadow in this clear water down deep, and those fish are sitting on the shade side of the school bus. So those are the type of things that when I'm reading the screen, I'm just not looking at the screen. I'm trying to put everything in perspective. And now you're going to get a better look at the school bus. It's kind of laid out. But the clarity on this is just absolutely phenomenal. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with the rod and reel with this unit too. And with the 3 different active target positions of the transducer, I feel it really gives me the opportunity to basically see any type of water that I'm in, shallow, deep, you know, et cetera, et cetera. My experience so far is all 3 of them, there's a need for them. The Scout is an awesome position of the transducer. Down obviously is what we're on right now, the clarity, and the forward view looks just like that. So we really have, you guys have knocked it out of the park. I mean, with the Lowrance product, this right here, of course, I'm looking at a screen, so my mind's thinking fish. I figure out how I can catch those fish off the top of the school bus.
That's the most amazing thing to me is, you know, again, roll up on this spot. We knew this bus was here, right? And you could actually use, we still talk about HDS as the ultimate fishing system, right? Like it is, we would use SideScan or downscan to find this in the first place. But once you're here, to see something live in as almost, you know, as good a clarity as what you're used to seeing it on your SideScan or your downscan, which we're used to being picture-like, is amazing to me. Like, you know, to pull up on this spot again, there's a school of fish on the school bus. How fitting is that?
But you're watching them swim around.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's something that I've never been able to do before, is actually watch the fish move in and out.
And that's the thing that like, to me, again, you know, you and I were talking last time we got on the water, is that for somebody that used to fish a lot, now I get to fish when work lets me, I've kind of lost some of the polish on my fishing game that some of you pros have, right? And so one thing that this tool tells me is not only where are the fish, what does the structure look like, but also when I make that presentation, it's kind of like I was talking about in that intro, right? Like, am I fishing too fast? Am I fishing too slow? Am I too deep? Am I using the right bait? It's kind of like, you know, when, you know, you always hear about when somebody breaks up with a significant other and they say, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, if you put the lure down and you see the fish react and they don't bite, it's you. It's whatever you're doing. It's the bait, it's the presentation, it's how fast, how slow. One thing I've realized, again, just getting back out and starting to play with this where I can actually have my eyes under the water, like you put it, is, you know, I need to slow down and I need to let those baits drop, or I need to let them work right. And this tool is allowing me to do that now that I can see, you know, the fish, the bait, the structure all in real time. Again, you're 100% right. It is your eyes water. And to have a technology like this is everything short of taking your buddy by the ankles and holding it down and letting him look for you.
There you go. Strap a tank on and put your head below the surf. You know, I think I can speak on behalf of all of the anglers, especially the Lowrance anglers. Man, we're real happy that you took a little time out to play with this project, because this right here, it's a game changer. I mean, for us as an angler, and you know, you look at somebody like myself that not only have I been around, you know, I've competed for a long time, but I truly have a passion for fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if it's crappie fishing or bass fishing or trout fishing, but I love to fish. And to be able to have access to this type of knowledge underwater, it just really amplifies my passion for fishing.
And I think that's, you know, same for everybody that's in this game, whether you're on our side where we're building them or on your side where you're using them to make a paycheck, or the, you know, the people at home listening.
Yeah.
Like, we're all doing this because we have a passion for it one way or another, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. And, you know, one thing that you and I have talked about several times is how you're kind of a student of fishing and a student of electronics. And kind of you told me when you saw this in Table Rock a couple months ago is, you know, it takes a little bit to get used to, but there's really not the big learning curve you have with other sonar, right? You see it, you understand it.
This is absolutely so quick to understand it. Actually, you know, to actually rig it. You know, I watched earlier with our, you know, with our modular or transducer. I mean, that's so easy to install. I mean, I installed this myself in less than 30 minutes, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. The technology is so easy to read and understand, because what you're seeing is right there, and we have the scale set up to where, I mean, it's just so self-explanatory. It's fun to go out on the water, and of course, when you see stuff like this and look at the standing timber that we've been looking at this morning, you can see the depth, you know, where these fish are hanging out and this stuff. But
I'm going to talk detail. This is a buoy line coming down to that piece of that wreck we were just over. So this is part of a helicopter we just went over here. It's, you know, it's not as obvious as the as say the school bus is, right? Because not a lot of us are used to looking at pieces of helicopter. We're used to looking at helicopters.
yeah,
But, you know, to go over that and see the buoy line come down, but also to see all those fish suspended on top of that. Really, I mean, this is another example of exactly why we build technology like this, because when you're out here, we've drifted off of it now, right? We're out in the middle of the flat, and you think this big lake's got to be full of fish everywhere. No, fish relate to structure. And with fish, you can not only see the structure, but you can see how they relate to that structure. And again, are you making the right presentation to them or not?
well, this technology right here will forever change the way we fish, and it'll forever change how we fish. So I'm really excited about that. You know, it really opens up Pandora's box, because, you know, along with electronics, a lot of people really feel that, you know, I've heard them called fish finders, you know, or depth finders. To me, they've always been a tool that helps me as an angler read the environment that the fish live in.
Exactly.
I mean, you read thermocline, I mean, everything on these units. So it's just gathering this information and feeding it back to me.
Yeah, and that's again the thing with it being live. You know, I think we've often in our industry overused the term video game fishing, right? When we first got you know, the good color LCD screens, and you talk about vertically fishing on those, that's video game fishing. And then the first generations of live sonar came out, and we said, well, that's video game fishing.
Yeah.
Well, we've overused it to death. I'm going to overuse it again. This is video game fishing. Like you talk about fish finders, but taking the visual information together with what you as an angler can learn from it, you know, it's no longer a fish finder. I mean, you're the missing piece of that puzzle, but it is definitely gives you more information than just driving over this with a sonar. That's looking right down the front of the school bus.
Well, after having, you know, used this technology, and obviously, you know, I'm so excited about it. It's also the type of technology too that you'll get so used to having it that you would never want to go fishing without it, because you know how far behind the curve you really are.
And you know that is very true. And I think one thing to point out that I've caught myself doing in my testing, and I like to keep saying testing in air quotes, right? Because it is fishing. I mean, let's be honest, we're fishing when we're testing. Is that, you know, I've actually found myself, because there is so much information and it is so easy to understand, I found myself...
See again, the fish on the
shady side of the school bus. So this is the front windshield, that's the hood, and then if I pan just to the side a little bit, you'll see all those fish pop up. They're swimming around just like, you know, like Gary says, on the shady side of the bus. Even fish like to be in the shade on a sunny day.
Look at that one just swim right up on top of the bus.
Yeah, so I mean, this is great. Now there are some settings and stuff that we could talk about quickly. I don't want to, you know, this isn't really a full-on tutorial about the settings, but if you guys notice, I've been playing with the depth. If you're fishing a pattern or trying to stay in a certain spot, I actually like to pick my depth myself. I don't want the screen constantly adjusting and resizing. We do have an auto depth range option, and it's on by default, that will go find the depth. But if I know I'm here and I'm trying to look in 40 feet of water and I'm going to be cruising across 40 feet of water, when the depth changes, the scale of everything changes to me. So the fish get bigger or smaller depending on what's going on. So I actually like to leave it in my own personal, you know, like in the depth I've chosen. Again, like if we were going to work from the bank out, I'd probably leave it in auto and let it figure it out if we're working back in, because I don't want to have to keep bending over. The only other really thing, and you know, you've had some of these settings too as we played with, the only really two settings I play with are noise rejection and contrast. And noise rejection is basically how much background noise versus information do you want coming in. You could clean this way up, but you do turn down the signal a little bit. Watch how the bottom gets thinner.
Yep.
But when if I turn it off, see how much background kind of noise I get? I usually like to run low, medium, somewhere around there, and look at that school of fish right there with the school of fish right below them. And the only other thing you could really play with is contrast. Think of contrast kind of like brightness or like contrast is on SideScan, right? It's just how intense do you want these colors showing up? I usually run auto. I know you played a little bit differently on yours, but you like to see different things. Could you tell us a little bit what you like to see?
Well, I constantly play with that adjustment, because I really think too that contrast is affected by the type of water that I'm in. And you know, it's so easy to use. You just hit it, bring it up, and I clear the screen is what I want to do. I want that screen as detailed as I can make it. So that's when I play with the contrast, that's what I do. And I'm usually always doing that when I first put the boat in the water, on that body water, you know, for the first day.
Okay. Yeah, so you've had a little bit of seat time. Is there anything else that you can think of, you know, that we haven't gone through here? I know we can't really show the modes again because the way the camera's mounted.
Yeah, we have the camera mounted there. One thing, you know, as far as a little bit of a tip or just a heads up, one thing that I experienced when I first put the transducer in the scout mode position, depending on your right side of the shaft or left side of the shaft, make sure that you go to the panel on the right side and they have a flip.
Yeah. So if something that you know is on the right is actually showing on the left, there's a button to flip left, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot better than me, because I fished for about 30 minutes opposite.
You were trying to figure out why those fish weren't biting, right?
Yeah, but I finally figured it out. So yeah, that flip feature I think is something that's very important. But I tell you, I'm ready to go fishing.
Awesome. We're right next to the mothership boat here. Do we have any questions coming in or any Q&A you guys want to do? Pull out a drop shot. You got a drop shot tied on, buddy? This happens to be one on the deck.
Yeah, I got a drop shot tied on, but you know, again, with what I'm doing right here on that down mode.
Let's see it going down right there. There's the drop shot and there's the worm. You may have to zoom in tight to get that, but it is where.
Well, and I've got a little.
See it
you can see it right hanging right there.
So that's the weight, and that's the lure hanging down, or the lure up above it. So we're in 60 feet, looking at, you know, basically 50 feet to each side. So this is pretty deep, but you know, this is exactly where you would drop shot. So And this also, again, it shows you the real time of it. When he twitches at it, you can see it move. You see him reel it up.
But I was just going to show the viewers how small of a bait that is.
And we're
right
picking
there.
that up again in that big wide panel, 60
yeah,
feet by
and-
50
and
to each
60
side.
feet. But my plan with it, I've been able to pitch out, 55, 60 feet in front of the boat and track it all the way to the bottom.
The one, I guess, learning curve, if you want to call it that, is knowing how to make your cast be in scene, right? So you notice he dropped that down. I've just turned the trolling motor just a little bit to make sure it stays in there. This is only, like, this type of technology is relatively narrow side to side, but look at that. He's right on the bottom, and he's already had somebody come take a look.
See, that fish just came up. Take a look at it. One thing, too, you might mention, though, that with our transducer, our bandwidth looking forward, I know we're shooting like a narrow beam.
Yeah.
So you have to scan on your target.
Yeah.
To track your target. So I think that's important.
Yeah, so one of the things on this, it takes a little bit of getting used to, is actually, again, if you kind of think about that hunting analogy I made in the intro, right, where you actually have, like, this is your gun sight.
Mm-hmm.
You have to line up your shot, right? You can't just shoot a bullet out and hope that it hits your target. You have to actually line the shot up. So when you're drop shotting, it's not as bad because this is, as the on-screen indicator shows, we're taking that 135 and we're pointing it down.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the transducer, if you see the way the trolling motor's turned, that beam is sitting this way. So if I put my drop shot out on the front of the boat, I'm not going to see it. But if I put it in the beam to either side, I'm going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that tells you, though, is if you see the fish and you see your lure, you know they're in the same spot. Really wide angle ones, and we had some of this with some of this feedback with our previous generation. That wide angle gives you a lot of information, but I don't know if we're in front of each other.
No, too much information wasn't good.
Yeah. So here it is really narrow side to side. Now, if you're in forward mode, it is literally like what I was saying, that kind of gun sight theory, right? You line it up. If I'm going to cast to that pile of rocks that I know is over there, I line up that cast. I make the cast. I can do it. What I think I've seen already people doing is spending too much time just focusing on that, though. If you see the fish and you see the structure and you know that it's 60 feet out and 30 feet down, make your cast and trust your fishing.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, these fish will act. No, this is the most exciting technology that I've ever been exposed to. It's unreal.
In my 11 years at Navico Lowrance, this is probably one of the most excited I've been to come out with a new product. And actually, again, all the testing I had to do this summer. It was brutal. But having to go out, on nice days, just like today, and fish, it's been terrible. But somebody has to do it, and I'm sorry it had to be me, but I'm glad we're getting there.
I'm glad it was you. I really am. Thank you.
Any other questions from you guys? Okay. The max range, it's a good question. So the question I just got from the control ship here is, what is the range? The max distance and depth we've seen, we're going to publish, we've seen a little further, but usable in freshwater is about 200 feet. Really usable distance is what I like to talk about. Like, I can't cast 200 feet anyway. Gary might be able to, but I sure can't. Is really about 120 to 150 is where you start to get that real detail. Mm-hmm. In saltwater, I was talking with Lucas about that wreck that we were looking at. That wreck sits in 180 feet of water. We can't see the bottom of that. Mm-hmm. But the deck and all the structure sits between 80 and 120, and we could see it clear as day. And then kind of out of some of our testing we've done out of Europe in some brackish water, so kind of like half salt, half fresh, we were seeing about 180, 160 as the max depths there. So that's kind of how it works. Like, it's one of those things, it's a number in electronics. Everybody always says this is the best. Yeah, and that is the max. I like to post what are some realistic maxes.
Right.
And it does vary by body of water, by salinity, by how much, turbidity, how much stuff's in the water, temperature. But yeah, we'll publish 200. I usually don't set my forward range anything beyond 80 or 120 because that's about as far as I can see and cast anyway. So, yeah. You can mark a waypoint on the screen, yeah. So to mark a waypoint on the screen, let's just say I wanted to put the cursor over here on that fish. Now, you're going to be tempted to push this button here, but this is waypoint at the boat. So when you do this, you see right here, you say new waypoint. I'm now actually dropping a waypoint on those fish, and that is now saved on my chart right there, number 960. So you see, that's not where I'm sitting. Oh, are you kidding me? That's not where I'm sitting, but that's where the waypoint dropped because it is 45 feet deep and 35 feet away behind us. So the unit knows based on the depth and distance and my current position where to actually put that waypoint. Any other follow-ups there?
Yeah, hang on just a second.
Okay.
You guys put grid lines on the screen?
We can do grid lines, yes. So we have the grid lines off by default, but they're pretty easy to turn on. In the down and forward, we just have a standard, well, in down and forward, we have a standard, what they call straight. It's just boxes.
Mm-hmm.
This is, you know, this is 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. In down and in scout mode, since it's actually kind of an arc display, I like this one. We have an arced one. So I know that this 60-foot contour goes all the way out. That's 60 feet all the way around, like if I'm drawing a circle. That's how we do those. So in down and scout, we have arc or straight, and forward, we just have straight.
Yeah, I found that the arc has been the one that I'm so familiar with. It's so easy to understand when you look through that grid.
Yeah, and so here's kind of a good example of kind of some depths, right? We're at 100-foot depth here, all the way up to 40 feet depth up here. And look at these bait balls. Look at
the fish sitting on the break.
I mean, those are huge fish targets sitting there at 50, 60 feet deep. See them clear as day. See the bait balls move through. I mean, again, this was really designed for some shallower water. We wanted to show you guys the school bus and the helicopter.
It's like, you know, look at our shad ball right
Yeah.
there. That's what's so amazing. I mean, when I was using it last week, I'm sitting on a place and just literally not going anywhere, just watching fish swim underneath the boat.
Yeah, it's
and you could tell what size they were when they were swimming underneath the boat.
And I'm not going to go so far as to say it's guaranteed, but I'm actually starting to get where I think I can pick out species too. Based on size, based on the shape of them. If you catch one just right, man, again, especially those crappie, those are super easy to pick out. Some of the bigger fish are a little more difficult, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. Maybe I'm getting a little too proud of myself there.
Yeah, a little time on the water, you can really start identifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing though.
Got anybody else? A little Q&A?
Any other questions?
I mean, most of the questions are about adjusting the transducer, but we can't do that with the camera mount.
Yeah, so yeah, we don't have that, but if you go to Lowrance.com and look at the active target webpage, you'll see all of the different views you can get. Sorry, we don't have this set up the way we did, but if I do this, our cameraman David, and I dump his camera in the water, I'm gonna have to go down and get it, and I don't know if I can hold my breath to go down 90 feet and find the camera.
Yeah, but you were explaining that earlier. It's just a real quick adjustment.
It's super quick adjustment, yeah.
Very easy.
A lot of people were asking about forward view.
Yep.
Can you let them know that on the Facebook page we've got a 10-minute video of Hunter Shryock using forward?
On the Lowrance Facebook page?
Yes.
So I was getting questions about forward view and where can they find videos. Already there are some videos on YouTube from some of our pros that have had this. My product expert was just telling me on the Lowrance Facebook page there's a 10-minute video of Hunter Shryock using forward mode. So if you want to go do that, go check it out. Again, sorry for this demonstration with the camera setup. We're limited to just the one view, but as I was showing in the intro, it is a super easy adjustment. It's 2 knobs. There's no tools needed. It's just on the water. We could pull the motor up. Well, to do it in this one, we'd have to take the camera off, pull it up,
and change it.
Exactly. There's 2 clicks between down and forward.
And then the other thing too, though, I would just want to reiterate one more time is that the transducer, the module, is HD Live, Carbon, and the Elite.
And the Elite FS, yep. So the Elite FS, HDS Live, and HDS Carbon are all compatible with this. I am seeing some comments already on like YouTube videos, why didn't you make it compatible with the TI2, the Elite TI2? And that's because the Elite TI2 didn't have the networking technology that was required, didn't have that Ethernet port to plug in this module. And then some people have asked about older HDSs and they just don't have the horsepower to run this kind of technology. You know, it's as the graphics and everything increase, it takes more processing power, and obviously the older units were built on the best at their time, but that time has kind of moved on a little bit.
Exactly, for this technology.
For this technology, exactly, yep.
Okay.
Hey Jeremiah, can you tell us about availability of the Elite FS and Active Target?
So the availability of Elite FS and Active Target. Elite FS is actually already shipping this month. We've actually shipped out quite a few already. They should start hitting store shelves any day. You can probably see them at certain shops. What I can't tell you is when they're going to be in your store, but I can tell you that, yeah, they've already started shipping. The Active Target, we're going into production, full production next week, and we will start shipping some quantities in December, and you'll start to see a lot more in January. All right. Well, I think that's the end of our time here. We're about to get kicked off the dive spot. We had it till 1, and I see some divers over on the shore putting on their their wetsuits and they kind of want us out of the way. But I want to thank you guys for joining us today, taking an hour out of the middle of your day. I'm sure your bosses appreciate it, but most of you are probably still working from home anyway. But thanks for taking some time. Awesome, Gary. Thank you again for coming down.
No, man. Thanks for having us up here.
Jordan, thanks for coming down. I know you're not on camera right now, but you're still important. So thank you guys for coming down and making this a big success for us. And thanks to the Lowrance crew for taking the time to set all this up.
Yeah, believe me, game changer.
Game changer. Game on.